Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Today we are here to talk about what I and Ioana learned in our 20 years of experience. Looking forward to it. So maybe you could start sharing where you are and what you do to help us. I see some people already here on the chat, and then we will walk you through our experience. I will just put Ioana here on the screen also.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. How are you doing, Ioana?
Good, thank you. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm really honored to have everybody here live. Yeah, so let's start sharing stuff that are interesting, right?
Yes, I have people from India. Curious to see where else we have people from. I guess in India is a little bit late already.
Yeah, that's true. So thank you for joining.
Cool. We have people from Spain. Someone who started product management this week. Oh, very fresh in the position. I hope what we share
Congratulations.
here. Congratulations. Hope what we share will help you. Cool. See, already 45 people. It's nice. We just holding here around 3 to 5 minutes, and
Mhm.
you everyone can come in, and then we will start sharing. Maybe we can just walk you through our agenda, and then you know what we are about to say.
All
I
right.
think there is someone from where you were from, Joanna. You can see
Okay.
here from. It's a little bit hard for me to pronounce the name of this city, so I will not dare doing that.
Hi, Ben.
So people from US, Nigeria, wow, all over the place. Cool. So today, what we are gonna share years of experience and also more than 20 companies, because kind of
22.
changed 22, yeah, more 22. We kind of changed sometimes already, and I guess we have some learnings to share here. Yeah. So what we will talk to you today is like we just introduce a little bit more about ourselves, and then share some of our learnings during these 20 years combined, and also share a little bit how we end up where we are right now and what is exciting about our current challenge. And I would like to invite you to be very participative, ask questions, just write in the comments, and then we will reply to them, some of them
Mhm.
on the way, but by the end, we will take time to go through the questions. So just stay here and we will go through your questions. Curious to know how we can help you. Um, Maybe then we start with the introduction of ourselves. I guess you are tired of hearing about me, but I will introduce myself again. Have done a couple of lives already, but I will give you just a brief introduction of me. So my background is computer science, and then after I studied business, I had an MBA in strategic management. But I have a little bit funny story how I end up in product management, because I was a software developer for around 6 years, and I was, a bit sad because I was doing many things that nobody needed, and some of the features I created instead of solving problems actually created problems. So I couldn't really accept that, and I needed to move. And I realized that as a developer, I couldn't make a big change. I was annoying already, challenging everything, but sometimes my influence was too low. So I needed to change. But I didn't think about changing to product management because I didn't know what product management was. But what happened is I wanted to improve my English, and I didn't have enough money to study abroad. I was in Brazil back then, and I invested in an immersion course, and it was 7 days. I didn't know anyone there, and by the end, I had to do a presentation to show how my English improved, and I decided to present something I was doing at work. And what was funny is I said, okay, I'm going to present this automation system I'm doing here and so on. I will try to make it as simple as possible. And by the end of my presentation, one of the students told me, I like how you talk. We should continue talking. And I didn't know, but he was a CEO in Sao Paulo. And then he invited me to go to Sao Paulo. And I asked him, why do you want me to go? You only saw a presentation from me. He said, because you can make complex things very simple. And I have no idea what these guys in IT are talking. I think they're fooling me. I want someone to understand the needs of our organization and help these IT guys implement things. And I want to understand what they are talking about. And I think you can do that. Transform complex things into a simple one. And then he said, there is this position here because a product owner, I could give you that. I said, I have no idea what a product owner is, but if you think I can do it, let's do it. And yeah, so that's how I end up there. I moved from a town of 20,000 people to Sao Paulo, 20 million. It was quite different. Back then I was 23 years old. But I like the challenge, and I thought it would be interesting. And that's how I started my journey as a product owner in the beginning, but it doesn't matter a lot the title. We will get into that, but that's a little bit of me. Yeah.
I never knew that's the whole story, David. It's the first time I hear it.
First time, yeah,
The
okay,
first
yeah.
time.
That's how I got into product, a bit by chance, but I always thought once you work on yourself, you continuously work, opportunities will appear to you.
Yeah,
So they will show themselves to you, and if you're ready, you take it. So that's how I end up.
that's super inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
Come on, now curious to hear from you.
From me, okay. So I would also spare you the LinkedIn profile details. I have been playing around with projects and products for about 15 years now. As David said at the beginning, in a two-digit number of companies. Um, and I will also give you a story of how I ended up. So in 2006, I got my first role as junior project manager. I was 22, and that was the coolest thing I could ever imagine, to be a project manager, right? So it was Romania, I don't know, 16 years after getting a democracy, and product management was not there. I mean, didn't exist yet as a concept, right? You had project management, you had business analysis, and it was absolutely cool to be part of that. But then, like 2 weeks into the job, a colleague comes and speaks about a former colleague who had left the company before I joined to become a product manager. And I was like, okay, but what is that? What does she do the whole day? And that person tells me, well, she's like playing and talking to kids all day long, and then she's coming up with features for this educational software. And I thought, that's fantastic. So that can be a job. And from that moment on, product management became for me like the pure definition of freedom and of creativity. And then fast forward 7 years, during which I got a bit busy with my crazy project, the ERP implementation of the biggest Romanian retail startup. A friend of mine calls and says, hey, Ioana, we have a product owner position. Aren't you tired of being project manager? And that's the moment when all of this, energy from 7 years before came to me. I said, oh, bummer. Yes, I wanted to be a product manager my whole life, actually. And yeah, and that was 8 years ago, or more than 8 years ago. And ever since, I've been product manager in startups, multi-billion-dollar companies, products for a few B2B big customers or for tens of millions. And I think I lost a bit from that naivete that I had at the beginning, 15 years ago, when I heard about, or I thought I knew what product management is, for the good and the bad. But I also grew a lot as a person, what David said, and I'm still looking, and with each and every new job, I have been looking for defining and redefining the role, and me, myself, in this role. Who am I in this role of product manager? Yeah, that's a bit of my story, but enough about us, David. So let's move to what the heck we learned in these years.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Now let's go. What did we learn? Just 20 years in total. So I would start with this one. companies say and do often goes in different direction. And this starts with name of positions. Like we do agile by the book. We are focused on delivering value and so on. But we have a product owner who reports to the product manager, or but and then starts these things. And who is responsible for what? The product manager is responsible for defining the right thing to do, and the product owner to
Yeah.
doing the thing right. And in the beginning, I didn't really understand these things. But within the time, I came to realize that once you have product managers and product owners coexisting, there's too much complexity added, and the lack of accountability is the result. Why am I talking like that? Because if someone defines what to do and the other defines
Mm.
how to do it, if it fails the solution in the end of the day, it's a blame game. Oh, the product manager defined incorrectly. No, the product owner
Yeah.
implemented incorrectly. It's quite challenging, this thing what companies say and do, because they may say that they do agile, but then you receive roadmap also with everything predefined. And it's quite funny, you can make decisions, you are the product owner, the value maximizer, you make decisions, but you need to deliver this feature by the end of
Mm.
Q3 within this scope, and you can make decisions inside that. And I'm just confused with this.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. I've seen quite a bit of that. Yeah.
And my learning here is not to make you powerless. It's like just for you to accept. It is like that. Companies say something and they do another thing. And that's why they hire us, product people. It doesn't matter the title you have. You should strive for responsibility from end to end. It's like one bus, one driver. You don't have two drivers for one bus. So no matter product owner, product lead, product manager, whatever name it is, it's one person. And if you see something getting in the way of delivering value, you need to pick some fights. Accepting the status quo is the right thing, is right way of failing. And my learn was, it's not because there is a prescriptive roadmap that I should accept that. I should challenge and I should ask questions. For example, okay, I understand you put a lot of effort on that, but there's something I don't know. Which evidence prove to be the right thing to do? How do you know this is the right solution for our end
Mm.
users? With and then understand, like, what do you want to achieve with that? What are the results? Open up for a conversation. And I came to realize that once you ask some questions, people will reflect and they will take you more seriously. You don't need to be a rule follower. You need to be a value maximizer. And for that, sometimes you need to ask more questions than provide answers.
Mm. Yeah. Totally relating to that, David. And to add to this, um, one other thing which I've seen time and again is companies wanting short time to market, but then creating a lot of complexity and dependencies in the delivery. So in having, the teams split as the architectural layers are, the front end team, the middleware tier, the back end team, and nobody has this end to end responsibility, and it's becoming a struggle even to discuss with each other, not even thinking about delivering value. Or then you have the platform team, which I can understand, the famous platform team. Of course, eventually when the product grows, you would say, okay, let's reuse some components. But if the platform team becomes the bottleneck, that really goes against, everything you're trying to achieve. And I mean, there are ways to solve for that, right? So just listen to your developers, because they would know. Like, having a platform as an open source with some sort of a benevolent dictator just, accepting, or the PRs, and why I'm saying is this is not product related. You would argue, okay, but this is delivery, but it's so strongly impacting your ability to deliver value if you end up caught in this, needless, useless type of complexity, inside the organization.
Exactly. And the right way of beating complexity is not by adding more of it.
Mm.
Simplicity is the
Yeah.
best weapon for complexity.
Yeah.
So once you say, step back and say, what can we simplify now? The question is not like what can we add, it's like what can we remove? Generally, you find
I like
something.
this. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And the second learning, who is the customer?
Who is the customer? I mean, this could sound a bit like, Captain Obvious. Of course, you need to know who is your customer, right? But too often, I think that we are really unclear about who is our target customer, and or totally lose contact with them, with the customers. I mean, I've seen this happening time and again in companies where product organization, especially bigger product organization, become so obsessed with competition and competitors that totally lose track of, having happy customers. You end up wanting to have unhappy competitors instead of wanting to have happy customers. And another thing that can happen is that you end up having sales department as your only input for learning what your customers want. And in so many ways, that's wrong. You should be the person in relation to the customers directly.
Exactly. And connecting to the question, who is the customer? It's it's an anti-pattern to land in a position where you will see that your job is to gather requirements from the stakeholders to match their wants. And this is a trap because I'm not saying it's first the word stakeholder is tricky because it's a it's an umbrella term. Like
Mm,
everything you imagine that has any relation whatsoever with the product is a stakeholder. And I said everything because it can be a system, can be a process, can be person, can be anything. So I think it's trap, and I don't like using the word stakeholder for end users. I know end users are also stakeholders, but I try separating. But in a big corporation, for example, stakeholders will push you for things, for many features, for chains and whatever. And stakeholders are not your customers, they are your partners. They are also not your enemies. So if you try to take them as enemies, it will be a problem. If you try
mm,
to take them as customers, it will be another problem. But once you take them as enablers to deliver value to your real end users, then you can succeed. But it's about establishing partnerships over pleasing them.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true.
And I learned that the hard way because in the beginning I thought my role was to talk to stakeholders, and I thought they knew exactly what would lead to success. I was
Mm,
23, very young to this, very new to the, let's say, very raw to the job. And I was just talking to the stakeholders. And I came to the realization that their wants wouldn't be the end user's needs. And we ended up creating things that actually nobody really needed. And said, okay, there's something beyond that. So know who your customer is and talk to
mm.
them, and understand them, not the others.
And of course, it's also related to having a product vision. And again, it sounds like Captain Obvious, but so many times you figure out that you don't really have a product vision and don't really have a good product vision. Or, the product vision is something maintained by another department or another, level of management, like the head of product doing the product vision and the product managers doing more operational work, for instance. So this is another way to split this responsibility, which in my experience it's not really bringing value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the knowing the customer also connect to what you said and the competition. Sometimes we get obsessed and we try to compete them, but the audience can be different, and we are matching
Yeah.
competition is not the point. It's about differentiating and the delivering
Mm-hmm.
value to our customers. So it's important to look at what the competition is doing, sometimes get inspiration, and also sometimes you'll say, they are doing this, so we're going to do different because I don't want to be the same, I want to differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's true. Like you see your main competitor getting into the magic quadrant from Gartner, and then you say, no, we have to get there. What do they have and we don't have? And you're totally losing the view from the customer and start obsessing with your competitors. Who is chasing the customer?
Exactly. Going to our next learning, just do it. And this I am saying like it's important to have a bias towards action. For example, and many times you need to make a decision. And I know there's some saying like in God we trust, all others must bring data. Yeah, that's great, but it's not always that you have data. Maybe you need to do something to create data.
Mm.
So, like, I was reading one book the other day. It's called The Invincible Company, and there was one sentence that resonated a lot with me. It's saying like, if you fail big, you're dead, and because then the business, well, will go wrong. You will lose a lot of money, but if you avoid failing small, you are also dead. You need to embrace the small failures. So this is something about get your hands dirty and learn. Because many times I got myself into analysis paralysis, and then we wanted to get, let's say, we wanted to get security our plan would work out, and no PPT, spreadsheet, or whatever you create will prove your plan is gonna work.
Mm.
Just think, connect to the vision where you mentioned before. You have
Yeah.
a product vision and want to go there, and everything else will be ideas, opportunities, problems you have observed, and how you can prove if they will generate value for the end users. Start small. Find the smallest thing you can do right now to validate your assumptions, learn from real users, and then you can move on. It's not about big bang things. Big bang things can also generate good results, but if it fails, it will generate also big losses. So it's about having more things happening, smaller ones, bets, and learn, and then move on. So I say like decision. My learning from decision is a bad decision is better than no decision, because no decision ensures that you remain stuck. You get
Mm.
nowhere. And a bad decision, you learn something about it, and then
Yeah.
you can progress. So don't get paralyzed by analysis.
And sometimes you have the feeling that you are on a roll and you're delivering and you're learning, but actually you're not. And one thing which happened quite recently actually is that we wanted to get out with the first version of yeah, let's see, of an app. And then we had the feeling, yeah, but we found a bit too many bugs, and it's a bit, let's fix here and there, and then another sprint, but let's fix also that, and maybe add this. And it's really it's slipping away. It's very easy to lose that moment to say, okay, you know what, we are delivering it. We put a beta label on it, and we are giving it to the users to actually tell us what it is. So just go against your need of perfection and just do it.
Exactly. It's like the military saying, no plan will survive contact with the enemy. And they say in product management, nothing will survive
Mhm.
contact with the end user. So just
Yeah,
put out there
exactly.
and check what happens, and then go from there.
Which I think that brings us to the next point, actually.
Exactly. Being wrong
Wrong
is
is
good.
good. It sounds like a pure platitude, but in all honesty, how many companies are really embracing failing fast and failing in general? And in how many companies is it really okay to do mistakes and not have, you the eyebrow getting up and finger pointing games? And I used to blame a lot, the company and the culture when I would see these kind of things. And at a certain point, I realized that I was actually looking in the wrong place, because the only way you can change this is not by, frontal attack the company and say, guys, we don't have a failing, a good failing culture, but to do it in yourself. And the place to start with this mentality, if you want to change anything, is to start it, in your own internal dialogue. What do you say to yourself when you mess it up? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it, wow, nice, now I learned something new? Or is it, oh, bummer, this is so stupid, why didn't I think of that? Because that internal dialogue is really going to dictate how you're going to react, and how you're going to react when somebody else is doing a mistake next to you, like a team member, or somebody else. And it's really spreading. This is how culture is being created. So my big learning here is, start with yourself, accepting that it's good to be wrong. It's good to come to refinement to an idea that your team is demolishing in 3 seconds because it was simply not a good idea. it's good to put a feature out there the users are not using and to figure it out fast. It's really good. And what I say to myself when I discover that is, be like Trevor Noah. If you didn't know, now you know. It's really, what am I learning out of this? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, connect this to having a learning mindset. And I really like, because, for example, you failed somewhere somehow. And if you start running this back, and you think, what could I have done differently? I did that sometimes in my mind. It didn't bring anything. And now I
Mm-hmm.
think like this: well, I did the best I could during that moment with everything that was on the table. I'm confident I did the best I could,
Mm-hmm.
but what do I learn from what I have now?
Yeah.
I learned that maybe I could have done this a little bit different. I could have asked another question, but now it's learning. Next time I will do it better. The past is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's
Mm-hmm.
about now and the future. So I
Yeah.
take this as learning, and I like saying, like, whatever I know now is based on my perspectives and experience and learnings, and it can change. If I see something
Mm-hmm.
that serves me better, I'm fine changing that, because I learned something, and it's okay. It's not about being dogmatic. Oh, that's how it is, and so on. It's about having an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone shows you something that, well, inspires you, go for that.
Yeah. I totally relate to what you say, and I recently I've started to look at everything I decide or we decide as a team as hypothesis. We make these hypotheses, we make these predictions in this very complex environment, and yeah, it could be that we are wrong, and we need to get that feedback so that we can improve, our future prediction. But if we don't accept that it's good that we were wrong, we will not get into the learning mode. What you were saying, David.
Exactly. And there are many places where people perceive the word wrong, failure as bad. I
Mm,
perceive the lack of that as bad, because it means you are trapped in a comfort zone. So it means if you are not wrong, if you're not failing, you are also not trying something different. You're constantly trying what you're comfortable with. But that ensures you will remain stuck. You will not
mm,
grow in your mind, grow in your knowledge, grow your product. You can only fail if you try something different. You can only be wrong if you continuously trying something. So I always encourage people, just try it out. And whenever there's a failure, instead of saying like, "Ooh, what could we have done different?" My question is, what did you learn from it? What can we
mm.
learn from that? Take a learning
Yeah.
mindset and so on. Don't take it so hard on failures.
And it's nice how this mindset is spreading. It's contagious, because when, especially, if you in a product leadership position or any kind of semi leadership position is showing, this vulnerability, you empower others to do the same and to get into this learning mindset.
Exactly, because uh, a clear example that happened with me many times is the famous estimate on the backlog items. So sometimes I noticed developers were reluctant to give an estimate, and I don't really care about estimate. I care about the knowledge created among developers so that they know how to solve the problem. But they were reluctant because in the past they used to be held accountable for the numbers they
Mm,
gave. So if they would fail, for example, they estimated something as a 5 and then they realized actually that is an 8, the product owner said, wow, what happens? I told my stakeholder that's a 5 and now you tell me it's an 8. How am I on this? So the developers would say, so it means I need to be perfect. And this is pointless, because sometimes I say, are we having conversations that lead to
mm,
value, or are we having conversations that lead to error prevention? Because what I learned is the following: if you want to prevent errors, you put more process. But if you want to innovate, you need to take risks. So you need to
mm.
embrace, what kind of questions do you ask? How do we avoid risk, or how do we maximize opportunities? And it's all about leaving our comfort zone, being wrong, and creating a safe space for learning, and motivating the others to do the same.
Yeah. And as they say, if you really want to make a change, you need to take a leap of faith. You will never have all the data in the world are not going to ensure you that you're making the right move or that you innovate. You cannot innovate without that leap of faith. And that can only happen if you're okay to fail.
Yes. And I think this is super connected to the next point, which is one of our learnings. It's actually about people, not products. It's very easy as a product, let's say a product professional, because as I mentioned before, can be product owner, product lead, product manager, doesn't matter the title, but the product professional, very easy to fall in love with the solution. So you fall in love with something and then you start focusing how you make the solution better, perfect, more delightful, or whatever. But in the end of the day, your job is not to deliver better solutions, it's to help people get the job done. And it's not only the end users, it's also about the team you work with. It's all about people. For example, you can be, as I used to, super dogmatic about the agile framework you use, Scrum or whatever, but the goal is not to do Scrum better. The goal is to create value, and Scrum is a means to an end and
Yeah.
never the end. And the goal is always to find a way how to solve problems of real people, and with real people collaborating together, and then we get something done. So don't get sticky to processes, solutions,
Tools,
and so on.
techniques.
Exactly. Tools.
Mm,
Yeah, I often receive questions on LinkedIn like, which is the best tool set for product managers? What is the best way of gathering requirements? I say just talk to people. Collaboration is always the best tool you have ahead of you.
mm. And to add to that, my discovery, as I was saying, that my redefinition of the role with each and every team and company that I joined, product management is not an ivory tower. It's a village. It's not you alone somewhere, in your cloud imagining things. No, it's really you spend most of your time in communication with other people. And that's why I'm personally a bit reluctant when I see, fellow PMs stating how, speaking about, their innovations and their great success in with I, because I think it's always a we in product management. It's always the whole village, the whole team producing that value.
Yeah, it resonates a lot with me this because I was thinking on the definitions I had for PM in my life. In the
Mm,
beginning, I used to say I'm like a bridge. I bridge communication between business and technology. So I used really to understand like that. I would talk to business and come back to the to let's say software engineers and figure out what to build. That was my first definition. The second was like imagine an orchestra. I am like a conductor, so I ensure I don't play any instrument, but I ensure that the musicians will play the music beautiful together. So that's what I do. That was my sec. And my latest one is like it's like jazz. You just start
I
the
like
rhythm,
this.
and then everyone else will build on top, and they will just follow the. You just start,
I
so
like
you
this.
get also
Yeah.
your hands dirty. So my definition now is about product managers. It's like jazz. It's everyone together.
I really love this. And it's really an experience that makes you humble, because you see how it's never about, you or your ideas. It's always about us doing something that makes somebody else happy. It's as simple as that. And you're never alone in product management. You can learn the tools and the techniques, but if you really love product management, you have to love people, and you have to love to be in connection with people. And we have bad days and good days. People in your team, your stakeholders, your customer, people have agendas, people have egos. Learn to deal with that. Yeah.
Exactly. Learn to deal with that, and take it easy on yourself. I think yesterday I read a post from John Cutler. He put on LinkedIn, and he was saying, like, it's fine to be pissed off some days. It's fine not to be the best some days. Just take it easy. You don't need to be like the a most outstanding product manager ever. It's fine to do a good job. It's fine to take it easy. Just think like this and step by step, because it's not something, because now I see a lot of people trying to hacks. How can I learn product management in 2 days? How can I learn this? And so you want simple like that. Here we are talking some more than 20 years of experience, and we are summarizing here in just 5 points here what we learn. But it's a journey. Every day is an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn. So if you keep an open mind and step by step, you will sharpen your skills, and then you can get there.
And in relation to your team, I mean, make sure they have fun. This is so important. The people who are actually producing all of these things, make sure that they have fun and take care of them. I've gotten a few conflicts, in the past with team managers saying it's not your job to take care of the development team. And I say, yes, it is. It is my job, and it is our job to, have fun at work, whatever it is that we do.
Fully agree with that. It's like I said, and if you imagine orchestra is stressful, it's perfection. But if you
Yeah.
imagine jazz, everyone is having fun on that. So the musicians are just enjoying the moment. And I think building a product is like that. Starts with the team, getting together as people, and
Mm,
then only
yeah.
once you start like that, you can work. It's like Jim Collins said, first who, then where. Because if you don't have the right people on the bus, it doesn't matter where you want to drive, how you want to drive. So shape the team, be open, find how to have fun. That's it. Have fun,
Mm,
and it will, everything else will just unfold.
totally agree.
Now let's ask one curious thing here. I think we both can share, like, how did we end up in your current position? Because now we work both at the same company called Virtual Identity. It's an agency in Germany, I would say. Now I have people all over the place. Have also
International.
people international. I have people in Portugal, also in Austria. Maybe I start saying like what convinced me to be here, because it's counterintuitive to think a product person would join to an agency. And I have been part of startups, scale ups, many things, different things, also big corporations. And then I end up in an agency. But why? So there was something particular interesting to me, the openness of trying different things and the honesty of saying, we're not there yet. We struggle with this. We struggle with agile. We we try to solve problems for our customers, and how we solve, we have different ways of doing that. So I saw a chance of transforming this. It's not because it's an agency that you cannot apply product management practices. You can, it's just different. And this unknown and opportunity, I decided to take a look how it is and learn for myself, because I had experienced so many things in my life that I really wanted to try different. And I came to VI, to Virtual Identity, because of this openness and seeing how we
Mm,
could do different. And that was 2 years ago. And we started like with a small team, and now we are more than 10 people in the team already of product. We call it product leadership. As we say, it's not about managing, it's about leading. So we even changed the name, and it has been quite a journey, and it's quite interesting to see how we can make a change if we have a leap of faith.
mm, yeah. I mean, you know how I got here. Part of that was because of our interviews and the fact that in the company the first interaction I had were really from an okay position. And after a while, I got a bit tired of these interviews where you hear, okay, we'll speak for 50 minutes and then you have 10 minutes to ask your questions. So this is one aspect that, keeping the eye level. But fundamentally for me, it was the need to get into an honest definition of my role, because at VI we are called product people, but we know we have external clients, and you it's just that much you can do sometimes. And you can imply product thinking in these projects, and you can try to twist things around and make a project become actually a product and help the client in this journey. But it's also honest to say that at least I know who is my customer, because too many times you are called product manager, but what David was saying at the beginning, you either receive a roadmap or you have a product manager and the product owner, and the product owner works with the team and the product manager does something else. There is a bit of mismatch, and in my perception quite a bit of dishonesty regarding what the role definition is and what the reality is. So yeah, I joined for the honesty and for the people, or I joined
Cool.
for the honesty and I stay for the also for the people.
Yeah, that connects us to the next part. Like, we approached a bit of this. What is exciting, and at VI we are hiring now, so we have more open positions for product managers also, and we are trying to grow our team. And the question is like, what makes exciting to be part of this? For me, like as I mentioned, the exciting part is you have a chance of making a change, and it's not easy, but if you are willing to, you have the chance of that, because we're super open, and you can learn from each other. We have an environment where everyone is open to help you grow, and people want to support. And this is one of the things that I see as beneficial at virtual identity.
And the variety, I mean, we have access to so many business industries and projects, and it's really easy to switch and to get into various perspectives. um, and of course it's also the fact that what I said earlier, for me the people are really important, the people I'm working with, and the environment and the culture and the openness. I mean, at the end of the day it has to relate with your values, right?
Yes, it's about people.
Yeah.
That's what it is. At the end of the day, and this is something also I see. Like, here you can be yourself, and that's fine.
Mm.
You can you don't need to think on private sphere and so on, professional sphere. Just be yourself, and it will be all fine. And that is what makes also easier to adapt to a scenario. And the variety also always motivated me, because I am super curious and I like learning more things and being active in different spheres, and that is what I have experienced here. And if you are looking for a new challenge, we have one, and you can apply from here. I'm just sending the link before we get the questions. We are hiring more people. The positions are available now for anyone in Germany. So we have a hybrid work format. So we can work anywhere from Germany. That's what we are having now. If you want to know more, you can just ask questions and you can apply for the position. And then we have a chat. It's fine. We can just have an informal chat that can talk to me, to Ioana, and to our people, get to know what we do. Yeah. Cool. Now that we share this, we will take the questions. I see already some questions here.
Mhm.
There are many things here, so let's just start with the questions from. Yeah, there was one about the customer. So you can see here, how can we direct contact with our customers? Which tools or ways that you suggest about it?
Just talk to them. So one way, of course, it's always to have your early adapters or your buddies in the customer pool of customers, and work with them, even invite them to your reviews, and have them part of your team's life, would be one way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and also it depends a lot on your business model.
Mm.
So, for example, is it B2B, B2C? Is it like a online shopping? What kind of it is? But just get a way of talking to them. For example, if you have a huge amount of clients, you can use tools like Hotjar and so on to get insights. You can ask them to reply to some things you can put in your website and learn from them, or you can find a way how to talk to them. In one of the startups I worked, uh, once I received the request, the CEO told me, I want you to increase the engagement of this app in 30% in 3 months. That's it. I don't want an excuse. I want this done. Ciao. He stood up and walked away. I said, ooh, how do I do that? I said, first, I want to know who the users are. And it was a car business. And I want to talk to the real users. I visited 20 dealers in a space of a week. I got to know how they work in their environments. I wanted to know where, when they do business, how do they
Mm.
do, and then I learned to them. So I'd say it's about doing things, being creative. Don't be limited on tools and so on.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Understand who your customers are, figure out how to talk to them, and you don't need a lot to find patterns. You need, for example, I think six it would be enough. I talked to 20 back then, was not needed. I think on the fifth I already identified what I wanted, but I just continued.
I mean, of course, you can always read about user research and user interviewing and getting better at that. But I guess what David is saying is that just start talking to them.
Yes, exactly. And you need to be mindful which questions you're going to ask, because
Mm.
you have different type of interviews. You have exploratory, you have validation, and so on. But you don't ask them if they like your product. People are nice. They tell you, yeah, I like, it's good. But in the example I was saying, I would ask them, how do you buy cars? How do you find the cars? And then they would say, I do this and this and this. So, okay. So I might have something here I'd like to show to you. And then maybe you tell me how that would help you in your day to day. So how questions are better than like open-ended, like, do you like, yes or no? You may get a yes. What do you do with that?
Whatever you do not bias them.
Exactly.
In a nutshell, user research in a nutshell. Try not to
Exactly.
bias them.
Try not to bias then. Figure out how to understand the problem, and if what you are offering would help them solve the problem. Another one here is about the product vision from Johannes. How would you recommend to formulate the product vision, and how often should it be challenged or even adjusted? So there are several ways. I like the one when we say for whom we are going to do something,
Mm.
and what we do, and different than the competition, because it's important to say who our target audience is, what we do, and how we create value, and how we differentiate. That provides guidance, because it's not about matching competition. I don't know how often this should be challenged. It really depends how fast you grow. It's that is very uh, relative to how fast you are scaling up. In my case, in a startup, I would challenge that every 3 months, but that is a startup, and the startup has already a limited time because of the cash
Yeah.
flow. You have a seed investment. That was the example. It was not even Series A, so we had a time span of 10 months. That's it, no more than that. So I would challenge every 3 months. But what do you think, Joanna?
You change it when you need to pivot, right? And as you said, you need to pivot depending on where you are in the lifetime of the product or what your discoveries are. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like you put in your calendar to challenge the product vision, every 2 months. It's more like if you run any, let's say, user research or something that really blows your mind, of course, you will go and say, okay, maybe we really have to adjust it. There is also the product, how is it called, from Marissa Perry, the product strategy canvas, which includes the
Mm-hmm.
vision and then the challenge and the target state and current state, which I also like very much. So there are several ways out there. The thing is, just have one. And I know it sounds very easy, but it's really important to have one. And also what Marissa Perry says, and I really love that, you need to over communicate it. You need to
Yes.
state it again and again and again, and it has to be your north star. It has to be that thing that helps you make decisions and challenge every decision that is being made.
Yeah. One product vision I like was created in the 60s. And Kennedy said, by the end of the decade, we will land a man on the moon and return him back to Earth safely. That's it. That's a vision. And you can make decisions for that. And many things happen for that. And you can, a vision should be inspiring,
Mm,
help you make your decisions, and stay in your mind. And the moment that people
yeah.
ignore that, then the vision became pointless. Let's take some more questions here. There's one interesting here. In your experience, what's the biggest difference between product management in a startup versus a scale up? Yeah, it's a different product phase. So because in
Mm,
the startup you are in the initiation, so you are validating your idea, so you are trying to find the market fit. So that's what a startup is about. Validating something that works will create value for both sides, for the user and for the business, feasible, and then will be also viable in terms of business. So it's very strong on validation and discovery and so on. So that's where you put your attention. And then the scale up, it is more like how can we maximize our potential? You already validated the idea and now you want to grow. It's a moment like maybe you in the beginning you made some trade-offs called technical debt. So it's not really
mm.
scalable. And now is the time for you to fix that and to increase your reach in terms of user base. So that's in general what I see.
I also see a different level of complexity because at the
Yeah,
beginning it's about making decision. You know, you're going like this, bumping with your head against the wall, trying to find the middle path. While when you're scaling up, it's about the organizational complexity. It's about several teams maybe having to work together. It's about internal dependencies, is what you said, David, about technical debt. It's about investing into quality. It's about making other kinds of trade-off, um, and it's a lot
exactly,
about sales. Yeah, so it's a lot also about being able to sell and to prove.
exactly. It's 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 uh it's it's a different level of complexity, different challenge. I have one interesting question here about transition. So I'm a software engineer that wants to move towards product management. As product roles feel quite domain specific, would you have some advice? Must have resource in building this knowledge. It's quite interesting. This it depends where you want to work. If you would go to a fintech or to healthcare insurance, this I would say yes, it's super heavy in domain knowledge, and it would be unlikely for you to start there without it. But if you're gonna go for startup, and for example, in online business like e-commerce, B2B, B2C, depending, you don't really need a lot of domain knowledge.
Mm,
You need to know how to create value. If you let's say if you understand product management and you would like you come from software engineer, so you know how to create software. That's a very similar background as I had, and that helped me in the beginning because I understood how to talk to the engineers. What I didn't understand was how to talk to the stakeholders and the end users. I made a confusion out of that. So once I learned that, I could succeed. So I think if you want to move, you go for somewhere that is light on domain, more about on the product itself. Then that is what I would recommend. And generally, it's better to move on where you are. You can get a position easier, or someone will need to trust you, and that you need a little bit of luck, like it was with me. It's a bet. Someone bet on me, and I guess it worked.
so I, as somebody who really changed a lot the business domains, I can say that it's really important that you love the business domain, because if you like it, you're gonna learn it. And in the first phase there will be subject matter experts, there will be people who know, there will be customers. You don't have to be the expert. This is coming in time, but you really have to like it. And if you go to the fintech but you have nothing to do with that topic and it's like, oh, okay, I don't want to learn that, that's not gonna work out. So just be passionate about the topic, and of course you're gonna learn it.
Yeah. And exactly, and I can give you one tip if you can get an interview. When I was in Brazil, I got it was I always worked in B2B, and then I got an opportunity to go to B2C. It was online wine shop, and said, "Oh, have no idea how it works." And you know what I did? I became a customer. I ordered. I think I made three orders. One I returned, the order I canceled, and the other I kept. And I saw the whole customer journey. I saw some flaws on it. I contacted the call center, and I did many things. And then the day of the interview, the guy asked me like, why should we hire you? You actually have no experience with this. I said, but I'm curious. I've got some ideas already. And then I pointed some things that I
Mm.
would see in the product as a potential. He said, why do you say that? I said, oh, because I became a customer and it was a pain in the ass for me. Sorry for saying that, but returning wine, it was really tiring. I need to justify why I want some to return something I thought I bought incorrectly. So that's not good, and I would never buy again. So I think I'm not the only one. So just be curious and try to learn the product
Mm.
before you go to the interview. And I'm pretty sure if you do that, you'll be step ahead of 80-90% of the candidates. Most people don't do that. I will pick a couple of more questions here, maybe 2 or 3. There are several questions here. Unfortunately, we won't have time to answer everything, but let's take some more. There were one just quick thing here. If you are opening in India, not now. One thing, we currently have a hybrid work only in Germany, where we have offices, but we are trying to work on that and allow to have people all over the world. But we are trying to solve this still bureaucratically and legally. But we don't have yet a forecast, but we are working on it. There's several more questions here. I'm trying to pick one here. Let's take this one here. How can I convince hiring managers if I don't have any experience in the job industry? I would like to change the industry, what I'm working on.
I think
I,
partially it's what you already said, right? About being
yeah.
curious and just getting into the topic
Yeah,
beforehand.
exactly. Curiosity. Get into the topic. Try to see how you would fit in. For example, as a hiring manager, I don't really look a lot into your industry. I look more how you think and what you could bring to the team. That's what I'm looking more. Like, are you curious, or are you a more like a person who likes stability, or someone like how are you with comfort zone? Does it disturb you, or something that you are fine with? And how do you develop yourself?
Hmm.
What pushes you? What motivates you? These are the kind of things I want to see, and I want to know what you understand about building products. So I want to look beyond the industry. I want, because domain knowledge you can learn, but for me, if you don't have a value-driven mindset combined with a growth one, I think it's unlikely, in my case, that we would get together. So that's what I search for example.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, another tip from my side would be to look at what you're currently doing and see what from your current skills simply translate very well into that industry or that role or that skill set. Because many times you can be disappointed reading a job description, like, okay, but I haven't done all these things. Yeah, but you've done all the other things which can be very easily translatable into these things. And that on top of that, if you have this learning mindset and you can prove that you have a learning mindset, I think there is no way to not get it.
Exactly. Just try it out and talk. I think if you are confident on yourself and you can show that, it will make it easier.
And make connections between what you know and this new domain. Just make connections and show how you make these connections, because at the end of the day, many things are very similar in all industries.
Yes. Take one more question before we close up.
All right.
Okay, so this one quite interesting. What do we need to learn to be a really good product manager? For example, some companies expect that a PM should be familiar with software language. That's quite interesting.
What is a good product manager? What are the KPIs or the expected behavior of a good product manager? I think it really depends on the definition. I would see absolutely no liaison with any software language or any software in general, development. But I think every company has their own definition of a good product manager, and maybe one step would be to find out what that company's definition of a good product manager is, and what's your definition. And for me, this is the first thing: is it a fit or not? Do our definitions fit?
Yes, that's a very important point, because If you would ask 10 companies what a product manager is, you would get 10 different answers. And if you would ask 10 people inside the same company, potentially you would also get 10 different answers.
Mm.
So there's no one size fits all, but it's like you need to search what fits you. In general, thinking globally, what will lead you to success? I think there are three things: leadership, ability to make decisions, and communication. If you know how to do this, then if you are like sharp on leading people and also helping them understand you and so on, and communication, empathizing with the others,
Mhm.
knowing which medium to use when and how to communicate and so on, and like, regardless if you have data or not, you are always ready to make a decision that will help you in your career despite wherever you go. But then the other part is finding what is a fit for you, because there will be companies expecting different things for product managers, and my learning now is deciding if it's the kind of fight I want to pick or not.
Mm.
So you need to pick your fights.
And to the 3 points that you mentioned, I would definitely add curiosity. I
Yeah,
think that it's the driver of all the others.
yeah, curiosity is key. It's so let's say uh imprinted in my brain that I always forget mentioning, but curiosity, yes, it is key for everything. Okay, guys, I think we will wrap up now. I see people active until now, so unfortunately we couldn't answer to all questions here. The video will be available on YouTube, and as I mentioned, if you want to have a new challenge, we can just have a chat. You can apply. I posted the link here for you. I'm just posting again. You can apply and we can have a talk. For now, as I mentioned, it's in Germany. Could also hire people in Portugal if you're there, and it's hybrid. So thanks a
Yeah.
lot, and thanks Joanna also for sharing a lot about your story and learnings. It was quite nice to me. I learned a lot from you as well.
Thanks everybody for your time and for your very cool questions. And
Thank
remember
you.
to have fun.
Remember to
That's
have
the
fun.
most important thing.
It's about jazz. Just help each other. Have fun. Enjoy.
Thanks
See you,
everyone.
everyone. Have a nice evening.